Okay, so first off, I don't want to mislead anyone. I just want to flat out say that I don't know if this will be easy to jailbreak or mod. I just want to go through that rumor that's been going around the past few days and then give my opinion on whether or not I think this will be easy to jailbreak and give my experience on jailbreaking and modding other systems because I have done it before. So first off, I want to go through this rumor that's been going around the past few days. Okay, this was posted about a week ago on Wednesday. And this person said some hackers got their hand on the Switch 2, MIG switch, tested, and immediately locks out of Switch 2, turning it into a brick and a boot looping. By the way, I don't know what MIG switch means. Testers that prod the flash storage of the ROM chip, it immediately locks out of the Switch 2, turns it into a brick. Switch 2 has some weird protection that can detect voltage changes that tools cause when scanning the chips, even when it's minor. Unless an exploit is found and doesn't result into a brick when implemented, it won't happen in a long time. I know 3 testers that were working on hardware and software modding and know what they were doing, that any work immediately bricks it. And Nintendo gave troubleshooting step to reload the firmware from the SD card, but it's stuck in boot looping. In the end, it had to return to Nintendo, and they no longer allowed to be testers and had to pay for console, otherwise it would go to small claims court, as it has some form of internal reporting that unauthorized use was made. Apparently, another tester had an early access to a game and it crashed and rebooted but no longer worked until a reinstall of firmware. So it may be a sign that an exploit that triggers a reboot to run unsigned code is out of the question, as the firmware will refuse to run and needs a clean firmware. Also, FYI, reinstalling firmware from SD card is not offline. It is a generic app that only connects to a Nintendo server to get the latest firmware, meaning it doesn't allow to install a specific firmware version and no longer can be used as a workaround. Best bet is to hope for an emulator and a way to dump the Switch 2 ROMs. Okay. Personally, this seems a little bit weird to me that hackers and testers were supposedly allowed to test the Switch 2 units. I don't understand why Nintendo would allow, because Nintendo won't, we know how secretive they are. They're not going to allow just anybody to test the Nintendo Switch 2. They're not even allowing reviewers and journalists to test the Switch 2 right now until the system comes out. So I feel it's a bit weird for them to just have some hackers be able to test the Switch 2. What makes them so special? And if they do have some kind of insight on Nintendo, why would they use this to hack the system? Therefore, they're not going to get Nintendo's not going to trust them again. Plus, as this was saying, it could end in lawsuit. Why would they? I do have a lot of questions regarding this. So this, I don't necessarily believe. It doesn't make much sense to me why Nintendo would send them Switch 2 units unless they somehow were able to get the Switch 2 units early. As we saw, some people, for whatever reason, had Switch 2 units delivered to them after they bought it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But then when you call them and they realize that you've been modding it, we know Nintendo, they're not going to be too happy with this. So I do not believe this report. I don't see much proof behind it. And to me, there's just not enough information here that makes me believe it. That being said, I want to give my opinion on whether or not the Switch 2 will be easy to hack or will be hard to hack. So I have modded and jailbroken the Wii U, the 3DS, the Vita, the PS3, the PS4, and my original Switch. And for the Wii U, the PS3, the 3DS, the Vita were all fairly easy to jailbreak. Were all fairly easy and straightforward to mod. The PS4 I had a little bit of a trouble with. I upgraded to firmware that I didn't realize had like some kind of a really good security system behind it. So I had to wait a few years before there was an exploit and allowed me to jailbreak it. But even then, it wasn't simple. I would have to essentially connect my PS4 to my computer and have some kind of exploit thing run through it. And yeah, that wasn't necessarily easy. And even after that, you had to repeat that process every time you turn on the PS4. Now, if you put that into sleep mode, it's completely fine. It'll continue to hit the exploit. But if you have like a power outage or if you turn the system off, then you're going to have to restart the process all over again. So that's what I mean by it kind of gets more complicated, more complicated, more complicated. I have not yet tried to attempt to jailbreak my PS5, so I can't speak on that. Okay, now for the Nintendo Switch. The original Switch was, if you got a launch Switch, that was pretty easy and straightforward to mod. You would need this kind of a clip thing, and then you would you would need to slide it. You would need to slide it into here in order to jailbreak it. But other than that, other than buying that clip thing, it's pretty simple to jailbreak because there was already an exploit in the Tegra X1. That's why people were able to jailbreak it fairly simple and fairly fast. Now, as the Switch lifespan started to expand, Nintendo realized that exploit, and therefore they end up patching it. So if you have a patched Switch, or a Switch Lite, or a Switch OLED, it's not that simple. You would need to buy a mod chip, open up your Switch, and do some kind of I don't know. I was thinking about jailbreaking my Switch Lite, and then I saw how complicated it was. Then I was like, forget it. I'm not going to do that. So that brings me to the Switch 2. Well, we all know how all these companies are. It's not just Nintendo. Sony, Microsoft, nobody wants you to mod your system. And they all will brick your system if they think that you're pirating other games. I think the Switch 2 will be at the very least as complicated to mod as the Switch OLED or the Switch Lite or the post-patch Switch, not the pre-patch Switch. I think Nintendo has been learning from it. It won't surprise me if they hire people to help them make sure that it's as difficult to exploit as possible. It's not impossible. There's no such thing as an unhackable system. But the question is how hard or how easy or how simple it'll be to mod. And if it's not simple for people to mod, very select people will be able to mod the system. And that is what Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft want to do. They know that they can't create an unhackable system. Their point is to create a system that has the least amount of hacks as possible. And I think, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Switch 2 is more complicated, or at the very least as complicated, or will require a mod chip as the Switch Lite and the Switch OLED. And if that's the case, forget it. I'm not gonna mod it because that's just too. Anytime you have me go into the system and have me replacing the wires, forget it. I'm not gonna do that. But we'll see. We'll see how simple it is to mod, and we'll see about emulation and how fast that'll get in. For some, it takes a little while. For the Switch, it wasn't too much, and the reason why it may have been pretty fast for the original Switch was because of the Tegra X1. Now, this uses a completely different chip. I don't know how complicated it is to mod that chip. We just have to wait and see. Maybe it'll be instantaneous like the original Switch, or maybe it'll take a few years. Only time will tell. But, man, I'm excited. I just got my call from GameStop saying that I can pick up my Switch 2 tomorrow. I can't wait for it. What are your thoughts on this? Leave your comments on all this entire situation in the comments section below. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. I want to thank you all for watching this video. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. And Switch 2 launch day tomorrow. Talk to you later.